big news this week is that the Pfizer vaccine has been shipped out and is starting to see use. And while on the surface that is extremely positive news, that we finally have active countermeasures against the pandemic, well, as speculative, opportunity-focused investors, I think we can challenge ourselves to look a little deeper and see that not all vaccines are created equal. And in turn, not all opportunities are priced the same. You see, even though Pfizer's vaccine is the first to market, well, there's two really big problems with it. The first is that it requires negative 80 degrees Fahrenheit storage and transportation at all times. If you were to watch the video of the first vaccines rolling out, you would see workers placing pellets of dry ice on top of the vaccine. And hopefully it's not lost to you how complicated that makes the supply chain and logistics of transporting and storing this vaccine. Now, of course, you could argue, well, it's going to be almost immediately used, so it's not that big of a deal, right? Well, sure, but you multiply the complexity of just storing and transporting one vaccine by the millions and millions of people that need it, and you add on the second major problem with the Pfizer vaccine, and that is it requires 2 doses. And suddenly it becomes a lot more clear as to why this vaccine, although it is being praised as a panacea in some respects, is actually very problematic. Because of what is necessary to make the vaccine effective, it takes 28 days for people who have gone through both doses to become resistant to the virus. And chiefly among the logistics problems with this vaccine, it's just that ultra cold storage and transport, that limits the options as to where this vaccine can be distributed to and given out. Now, there is another vaccine coming to market likely next week, and that is the Moderna vaccine. And this vaccine is a little less problematic because instead of negative 80 degrees Fahrenheit storage, well, it only requires negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit storage. It's still ultra cold, and it's still subject to the same sort of problems that we're seeing. But what's really the issue here is that neither of these vaccines are really possible for distribution in the third world countries. We can't really beat this thing until we have herd immunity, and as we saw over the past year, that requires the global population to all be on the same page. So I think what is going to be the breakthrough and what is the opportunity that not enough people are seeing right now is in the development and release of a vaccine candidate that only requires refrigerator storage and only requires 1 dose to be effective. Suffice to say, there are only 2 vaccine candidates that I know of that meet both of these criteria. The first is by Johnson & Johnson, and it will likely see approval and roll out maybe about February of next year. That's extremely promising and exciting, but I want to turn your attention to the second possible candidate. And this is where I think, as a speculative investor, our opportunity really lies, because the second company developing a single-dose, refrigerator-capable vaccine is called Arcturus Therapeutics, and what I think makes them special is that they're not the monolith that is Johnson & Johnson. Instead, they're being backed by countries like Singapore, and they're seeing their vaccine, while still being tested, already being approved in countries like Saudi Arabia and Canada. What's more is that Arcturus is currently the number 2 largest holding in the ARCG ETF. Of course, ARK Invest is known for their success in finding the opportunities and innovations before they're widely known. And I think their thesis behind this one is pretty sound. They see Arcturus as capable of distributing their vaccine to the third world countries of the world in a way that Johnson & Johnson's vaccine will not be. Because whereas first world countries will have first take at the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which again is going to be much more applicable, much easier to be distributed, well, Arcturus is going to take the opposite side. It's going to be capable of being distributed easily in third world countries, and from an investing perspective, because Arcturus is a much smaller company, because they have so much riding on this vaccine, they have so much more stake in the success of this vaccine than what Johnson & Johnson has. This is the very definition of a high-risk, high-yield play. If they start to see successful rollout of their vaccine sometime in 2021, I think their stock has much more room to grow than what Johnson & Johnson's has. So again, I think this is why ARK Invest has made this such a large holding for them. And after looking into it a little bit more, the thesis makes sense, it's sound, it is a big risk, but I think what Arcturus is bringing to the table is extremely compelling, and we should know pretty soon if that thesis actually plays out, or if their vaccine doesn't quite make the cut, and Johnson & Johnson's vaccine is the only single-dose vaccine on the market early next year. So those are my thoughts, but I want to hear what you think. Do you see this as an opportunity as I do? Do you think ARK Invest should be investing in Arcturus? Or do you think it's too much of a risk? Let's discuss in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to join the 10X tribe if you haven't done so already. It's our free community of like-minded traders and speculators looking to take their trading to the next level and looking for opportunities to help them do so. The link is in the bio below, and I'll see you there. But until the next one, thanks so much for watching. Take care out there. Cheers.